Welcome to Everyday Tech Explained. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of AI-generated music and asking the question, is it the future of music or a threat to human creativity? We'll be exploring an article written by a Cornell student, Eve Riskind, and she's been grappling with this very issue. And hey, while you're listening, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out.
It's a question a lot of people are asking, and for good reason. There's a lot to unpack here.
Okay, let's unpack this. So Eve starts her article by talking about this experience she had at an open mic night. She was expecting the usual guitars and singers. But then one performer announced they were going to play an AI-generated song. And Eve says her immediate reaction was that it sounded too electronic, too soulless. What do you make of that reaction?
What's fascinating here is that her response gets right to the heart of the debate surrounding AI and creativity. When she says soulless, it seems like she's suggesting that something essential is missing from AI music. But what is that missing ingredient? Is it the raw emotion, the personal story behind the music, the imperfections that come with human performance? It's something to think about.
It is, and it makes me wonder, can an algorithm truly understand and replicate the nuances of human emotion the way a human musician can?
It raises some interesting questions about how we define creativity. Humans draw inspiration from their experiences, their relationships, their pain, their joy. All of that feeds into the music they create. But an AI, at least in its current form, relies on data sets and algorithms. It can analyze patterns, mimic styles, even create technically impressive compositions. But can it truly capture the essence of what it means to be human and translate that into music?
Right, because we all have those songs that just hit us in the feels, right?
Yeah.
And often that's because we connect with the emotions behind the music, the story the artist is telling.
Absolutely. Think about the blues, for example. It emerged from such specific and powerful lived experiences. Can an AI truly grasp the depth of that human condition and express it authentically through music?
It makes you wonder if there are limitations inherent in the way AI creates.
Exactly. Eve's article points out a few of these potential limitations. For instance, she talks about the risk of AI music becoming predictable and repetitive. Since AIs are trained on existing music, they might struggle to break free from those established patterns and create something truly original.
It's like they're trapped within the boundaries of what they've been taught, whereas human artists can experiment, innovate, and even blend different genres to create something completely new.
That's a great point. And that ability to innovate and experiment is a big part of what drives musical evolution. Think about the way jazz emerged, or rock and roll, or hip-hop. These genres were born from human artists pushing boundaries, breaking rules, and challenging the status quo.
It makes you wonder if AI, at least in its current form, is capable of that kind of disruptive creativity. And there's another potential downside Eve brings up in her article, the impact of AI on musicians' livelihoods.
Yes, the issue of job displacement is a valid concern. AI could potentially take over tasks that have traditionally been done by human musicians, like composing jingles for commercials or creating background music for video games. This could have a significant impact on working musicians, particularly those who rely on these kinds of gigs for income.
It makes you think about the potential economic ripple effects within the music industry if AI becomes the go-to for certain types of music creation. What happens to those musicians who specialize in those areas?
It raises questions about how the industry will adapt and evolve. Will new opportunities emerge? Will we see a shift in the types of musical skills that are most in demand? It's hard to say for sure, but these are conversations that need to happen now as this technology continues to develop.
And then there's this whole other layer to this discussion, which is the question of authenticity.
Right. Eve is concerned that AI-generated music might prioritize profit over artistic expression.
Because if a streaming platform can churn out thousands of AI-generated songs for a fraction of the cost of licensing music from human artists,
Right.
there's a strong financial incentive to do so.
Exactly. And if that happens, it could potentially flood the market with music that lacks the heart, the soul, the stories that make human creative music so special.
It's almost like we're talking about two different definitions of success. For a streaming platform, success might be measured in terms of how many streams they generate or how much money they save. But for a human artist, success might be about connecting with an audience on an emotional level, expressing something meaningful or contributing something unique to the world of music.
That's a really insightful way to put it, and it highlights the tension that exists at the intersection of art and technology. When we prioritize efficiency and profitability above all else, what happens to the intrinsic value of human creativity?
It's a question worth asking, especially in the context of AI music, where algorithms are being used to create something that has traditionally been so deeply human.
Speaking of algorithms, I think it's helpful to understand a bit about how AI music generation actually works.
Okay, so break it down for us, what's going on under the hood.
Essentially, these AI systems are trained on massive data sets of existing music. They learn to recognize patterns, analyze structures, and identify the elements that make up different musical styles. Then they can use that knowledge to generate new music.
So it's like they're learning the rules of the game by studying the greats and then trying to play the game themselves.
That's a good analogy, and some of these AIs are getting incredibly good at mimicking existing styles. But as we were talking about earlier, the question remains whether they can go beyond imitation and truly create something new and groundbreaking.
And that brings us to another interesting angle that Eve touches on, which is the whole question of copyright.
Ah, yes. The legal landscape surrounding AI music is still very much uncharted territory.
So if an AI generates a song, who owns the copyright? Is it the person who created the AI, the person who input the data, or is it something else entirely?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The legal system is still trying to catch up with the rapid advancements in AI technology. Currently, copyright law generally protects works created by humans. So the question of whether an AI can hold copyright is still being debated.
It's fascinating to think about how these legal frameworks might need to adapt as AI becomes more sophisticated.
Absolutely. And then there are concerns about AI potentially infringing on existing copyrights. If an AI is trained on, let's say, the entire Beatles catalog, could it create a song that's essentially a Beatles ripoff? And if so, who would be liable?
Those are really complex legal questions, and it seems like the answers might have a huge impact on how AI music develops in the future.
It's definitely something to watch closely, and it'll be interesting to see how these legal battles play out in the coming years. But beyond the legal issues, there's also the question of how AI music will impact our experience of music as listeners.
You know, one thing that struck me in Eve's article is her point about how AI music can never truly replicate the experience of seeing a band perform live.
That's a great point. There's a certain energy, a shared emotional experience that happens in a live concert setting that's hard to replicate. The connection between the artists and the audience, the spontaneity of the performance, the feeling of being present in that moment.
Yeah, it's like you're feeding off the energy of the crowd, and the musicians are feeding off the energy of the crowd, and everyone's in this collective experience together.
Exactly. And I think that's something that AI will struggle to recreate. Even with virtual reality and augmented reality technology becoming more advanced, there's still something about the physicality, the shared space, the human element of a live concert that's irreplaceable.
So maybe that's where human musicians will always have the edge. Even if AI can create technically perfect music, there's still something special about the human connection, the shared emotion, the raw energy of a live performance.
I agree. And I think that's something we need to hold on to as we navigate this new world of AI-generated music. It's important to support human artists, to seek out live music experiences, and to remember that music is ultimately about human connection and expression.
So what does this all mean for the future of music? Is there room for both AI and human artists to coexist?
I think so. As with any new technology, there would be challenges and opportunities. AI could potentially democratize music creation, making it easier for people to express themselves musically even if they don't have formal training. It could also lead to the creation of new genres and sounds that we can't even imagine yet.
That's an exciting thought. And maybe the key is finding the right balance, a way for AI to enhance human creativity rather than replace it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's about seeing AI as a tool that can augment our abilities and push the boundaries of what's possible in music, while still valuing and celebrating the unique qualities that human artists bring to the table.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of AI music. We covered a lot of ground today, from the technical aspects of how AI music is created to the ethical and philosophical questions it raises.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but hopefully this conversation has given you some food for thought.
Absolutely. So this has been Everyday Tech Explained. What are your thoughts on AI-generated music? Are you seeing examples of it out in the wild? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more deep dives into the world of technology.